Hello everyone, welcome back to I Create For You. We're back here again with the Lighthouse Ghosts and Legends by Nina Kostopoulos. And this is the Carysfort Reef Lighthouse in Key Largo, Florida. That's a little scary thing. Can you imagine having to go up and down that all the time when you needed supplies? No. I'm afraid of heights, so it'd be a big no for me. I don't care what you'd pay me. There'd be a big no. The story today is called A Tale of Two Keepers. Afterwards, I will try to do a sketch of the pesty ghost. The sparkling emerald waters off Florida's most southern tip hide an ocean floor littered with skeletal remains of ships. Here, a number of factors work against safe passage. During hurricane season, driving winds and rain pound across the open waters of Key Largo. Sudden squalls have thrown many a sailor spinning into the wild, storm-driven seas. Moreover, just off Key Largo lies a vast, dangerous stretch of reef. In 1695, the TMS Winchester, a 60-gun ship, met its ruin on the reef. 75 years later, on October 23rd, 1770, the HMS Carysfort wrecked on the same stretch. Afterward, the reef became known as the Carysfort Reef. In 1824, Congress allocated $20,000 for the building of a lightship in the area. At that time, no one knew of a way to build a sound structure on the reef itself, one capable of surviving the force of the turbulent sea. Even lightships in the area proved to be no match for the rough, choppy waters around the reef. Five short years later, the first lightship, Caesar, had already fallen prey to the elements. Its replacement, the lightship Florida, eventually met with some trouble of its own. The largest of the Florida Keys, Key Largo, extends 30 miles from end to end and was originally called Cayo Lago, or Long Island, by the Spanish. Pirates and smugglers once used the island as a base of operations. Many believe, however, that the Indians were its first inhabitants. As settlers moved into Florida, the Seminoles became especially protective of their land. In a well-documented strike, they attacked and extinguished the light of the Cape Florida Lighthouse. For some time, the lightship in Carysfort Reef had a significant presence, as it was one of few navigational aids for miles. A blow to it was a blow to Florida's citizens. Thus, like the Cape Florida Lighthouse, it was a logical target. On June 26, 1837, the Seminoles launched an attack. Friends were visiting Captain John Walton and his crew aboard the Florida that day. Wanting to prepare an adequate meal for his guests, Walton had decided to go inland and gather vegetables from a garden he kept on shore. As the vessel approached, the Seminoles watched from the shore of Key Largo, prepared to strike. Just as the vessel docked, they charged, shooting the captain and his crew. Walton and one other man died instantly. 3 other men, 2 of whom were wounded, narrowly escaped. As it turned out, the lightship was of as little help to the other seamen on the reef as it had been to Captain Walton and his crew. As a strategic presence, it drew too much attention to itself. As a navigational aid, it didn't draw enough. From 1833 to 1841, despite the ship's constant vigilance, more than 60 vessels were lost on the reef. Finally, in 1848, Congress appropriated funds for a masonry tower. Notable lighthouse builder Winslow Lewis submitted the first plans. However, there were delays in the building, and his plans were never fulfilled. In 1852, America's new Lighthouse Board chose plans submitted by Lewis's nephew, Isaiah W.P. Lewis. These plans called for an iron pile lighthouse. Having invented a new method for securing reef lighthouses to the coral rock beneath, Captain Howard Stansbury started the project. When the foundation had been laid, construction halted. The project met with delays, and when it was time to start up again, Stansbury was indisposed. A new contractor had to be obtained. The project endured 2 such replacements before its completion on March 10th, 1852. The beacon towered 100 feet above the high water mark. Living in an offshore iron pile lighthouse was a unique experience, to say the least. High winds cut against the iron poles. Rough waters rushed through the stilted base. Heavy rains washed over the glass enclosure at the top, eliminating visibility. In short, conditions were severe. Among other things, keeping adequate food supplies proved difficult. With no means of refrigeration, food was kept cool in the water below the lighthouse. But as Florida waters are relatively warm, it spoiled within a couple days. Denied even the pleasure of a wholesome meal, keepers were forced to rely on canned food. In all respects, this situation was far from ideal. Yet, true to form, a series of loyal keepers tended the Carysfort Reef Lighthouse until the 1970s, when solar panels were installed. More amazing than their devotion in the face of such discomfiture was the devotion in the face of Captain Charles M. Johnson. Keepers also had to put up with the ghost of this former lightship captain who had died during his short service. The cantankerous Captain Johnson died just after the lighthouse was lit, to the sorrow of no one. Generally regarded as a heathen, he was despised by his assistants. In truth, they were relieved to see him go. However, it seemed they were destined not to be so easily rid of him. After his death, his disquieting presence continued to plague keepers and their assistants. Deep guttural groans rolled through the rafters. These sounds began soft and low, growing louder as the hours passed and the night grew old. Eventually, they intensified to high-pitched, human-sounding screams. Needless to say, on top of everything else, it was hard to get a good night's sleep in the Carysfort Reef Lighthouse. Some now attribute the scary noises to the joints in Isaiah Lewis's iron plating. Of course, those who knew Captain Johnson were certain that he was the one who roamed the halls. He had never been the type to rest in peace, or, as his assistants well know, to anyone else the pleasure. The Carysfort Reef Lighthouse is located offshore about 6 miles from Key Largo and about 12 miles from the John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park headquarters. The tower is closed to visitors, and the shallow reef makes it difficult to take a boat to the base. So I guess it's a no-go. Besides, who in their right mind would want to go travel 6 miles in treacherous water to climb this apparatus? Yeah, just saying. I do not think so. Okay, so now let's get to the sketching. Okay, so it seems that the captain likes to disturb the sleep of those in the lighthouse. So I will do a bedroom scene with a ghost. I know they're not saying he's hovering over them or anything, but my best way of having his presence there and close enough to the person making those noises. You know what it would remind me of? It would remind me of, when you have, I don't know if anybody else has had sleep terrors. Oh, night terrors, I mean. Yeah. Not fun. Not a fun experience at all. Drawing the bed in case it doesn't look like much. The covers over the bed. Actually, you know what? I'm going to have to change this here because this has to be a body in here somewhere. Can't be flatlined like the captain. Oh, pardon that little pun there. The little flatline joke. Okay, we'll make that the pillow. The head of the bed. The head of the bed is always taller than the foot of the bed. Like you needed to know that, right? Oh yeah, as you guys know, I'm the one who talks myself through these things. Okay, since these are the covers, I will get this out of here. So someone could be laying in bed under the covers. Okay, there they are. This is their hair. I mean, like, who doesn't have bedhead, right? Okay, there they are. Laying in bed. Remember, they're probably not sleeping either. Not with this yo-yo of a ghost here who doesn't let anybody have any peace, so they say. Let me see. I'll just... there. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, there's the bed that the guy's lying in. Alrighty. Nah, I'm gonna get a little fancy here. Well, let's just put a picture over here on the wall. What up? Oh, let's do the old time vase type picture with the flowers. Alrighty, enough of the funny stuff here. Gotta get to that ghost. Okay, now, do I want to draw him standing or I'll do him hovering. I'll do a crazy hovering, like I said I was going to do to begin with. Okay, there's that. Now, I'm going to try to make just a tiny bit interesting. Since he is hovering, I'm going to make and he is deceased, no longer with us. Gotta keep his mouth open though because he's doing that moaning and groaning and all that other stuff. And I'm gonna color this in. Ghostly presence here. Get out the Whopper blender. Get them a little smoky looking. Since they never really have a solid form, maybe. Let's see. Hovering over the bed. Let's see, and they said they were making groaning noises, right? Okay. He's moo. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They can't really say too much more than that, I guess. That's not a half bad idea here. Use this little. Try to make him look a little spookier. He did look better with it shaded around him, though. Oh, yeah. Spooky guy. Coming to get him. In the lighthouse that you'd never want to go up into. Oh, buddy, you can have it. That'd be it for me. If I got stuck up in that place and then had something like this oohing and on and moaning and creaking and all that crap, nope. Absolutely not. Yeah. If they're not up here, they're here. Under the bed. Peeking and looking. But there we go. There's a Mr. Spooky there. He's hovering over the guy and who's never going to get any sleep. I know I wouldn't. Another interesting story. Actually, I find the lighthouse more interesting than the story itself. But I can't imagine. And I've heard of all those shipwrecks on the reef. I can't imagine, you know, how piled up it is down there. But anyway, I think this was story number 9. I'm not sure how many more we have to go. And tomorrow is going to be probably just a short, going to a concert tomorrow. So I'm going to be pretty busy all day, basically. And I don't know that I'll get another story done. Maybe if I do, I'll do it in the very early morning, but I'm not going to promise anything. And then we'll pick up again with all this. If not Sunday, then Monday. But I'll still do shorts and everything. Do my shorts. I have one ready to do for tomorrow. But thank you for stopping by and listening to the story. If you like it, please give a thumbs up. I haven't gotten many thumbs up, so I'm getting it a little discouraged because I'm not sure, and I don't have a heck of a lot of views either. I mean, I've got 59 subscribers, but I'm not sure if they're just subscribing because of my shorts or if they kind of like this thing or what's going on. But either way, I'm glad you're here, whether you're just passing through and subscribing or actually watching my videos. Thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. Like, subscribe, and share the whole 9 yards. See you in the next one. Bye for now.